Hi. So when we first started recording this new season of our podcast, I didn't even have a name. Season 1 was When the Dog Bites, but I'm in a different place with my own journey to joy. So we're sitting here inside of Little Joy Cafe, and we decided Joy is my middle name. That's the podcast name, and it's really my middle name, Allison Joy. So join us. It's going to be such a really fun time. Sometimes in life, the dog bites. In my case, literally. But it also set me on an unexpected journey to joy. Join us from Little Joy as we share stories of, well, joy. Because after all, Joy is my middle name. Really. Hi, Allison Macklick here, and we're back. We are back in a whole new way, and we're going to talk about it. We don't even know the name of this podcast yet, but it's great. My guest today is Ron Corning, and this is a very serendipitous moment because I have been watching him on TV for a very long time, and he's incredible. And we'll talk about how we got back in each other's lives, but this has been over 10 years. So to have him here today is such a serendipitous, amazing kind of full circle joyful moment for me. And we're gonna flip it. He's actually gonna interview me for the first episode of our season. So, Ron, welcome to the TBD named podcast.
I know, and so people understand how we're sort of, how organic this is in a way. We literally just decided we sort of don't know yet what the title is going to be, and maybe we'll put a call out to people who are watching to participate in it, because your story, as I see it, is one of such great resilience, right? And as I get to know you, I hone in on that more than anything.
Thank you.
From a broad perspective, we don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about the attack, because you've talked about that in your last season, and you're turning a corner to kind of take it to a different level and find out how others are dealing with or have dealt with instances that have changed their lives, and they're now seeking joy, right? And we are, by the way, at your coffee house, Little Joy, which again, organically feeds into this. What do you call it? What do you call that moment, the dog attack?
For me, I was actually talking to one of my coaches about this last week. I told her it feels like looking back when I was offline and now I'm online. And she's like, well, that's your consciousness. And I was like, I think I like calling it that more because I still have that visceral reaction when I think of dog attack. Mm-hmm. But I've said this many times, I'm actually grateful for it, because it's almost like I was offline living my life. And then that kind of shook me awake. And it was like, girlfriend, we got some work to do. And it just kind of changed everything, who I am, who I was. So it's like this pivotal moment in my life.
Yes. And that was going to be my first question for you. Can you describe for me, sort of in the most fundamental way, how that incident interrupted? Did it interrupt your person? Did it interrupt who you were? How would you describe it?
I'll get emotional talking about it, but I've done a lot of work since then.
I
feel like a different person. We'll talk about that.
And it's important to share that work because others can see themselves in you as they try to come out of something that's been pivotal, life-changing, or interruptive, right?
Yes, and I think when I started the first season of When the Dog Bites, I think I didn't even really fully realize what that transformation was. Like, who I am now doesn't even feel like the same person at the beginning of the year. Like, if you would have told me in January we're going to be owners of a coffee shop, I would be like, what? No way. So it's like I'm still kind of on that journey. But the thing, when I look back on that moment, you know when they say if something terrible happens, you either fight, flight, faint, like there's different responses. Mm-hmm. I always thought, I'm going to run. I'm going to flight. I'm a runner. Mm-hmm. And in that moment, I didn't. I fought. And it was...
You literally fought this dog off.
Literally, like still have scars. I was just at the dermatologist doing another rounds, and I have scars on my arms still. And we lost one of our dogs, but I saved the other one, and he doesn't have a hip bone, but he still lives, and he's happy, and he made it. And I just think, I'm a fighter. And there might be something in you as a person of like, maybe I am a fighter in that moment, but you never really know.
You don't know until it happens.
And it wasn't even like a, do I fight? Do I not? It was like,
you just did it.
I'm gonna go fight this massive dog right now with my bare hands. And when I think back to like hard things in life, in my head, I'm like, I literally fought an off-leash dog. Like, I can do anything. And so it's kind of like changed my mind, because it just showed me, stripped away everything, your primal, who you are. It's like, I'm a fighter.
But telling me that you've come to the conclusion that you can handle anything and you're a fighter, was that something that you realized in the moment of, in the moments after, or has it taken a lot of work for you to get there? Were you in a different place? Were you, not to diminish the idea that you're a fighter, but was there a process to come to understand that you are, aside from the literal fighting the dog off?
I think that's a great determination, because as soon as that happened, I was experiencing trauma. I couldn't even go on walks. We got a golf cart because I was so scared to walk. I love walking. I just became this very fearful.
So that's one of the actual ways in which trauma manifests itself in how you're able to live or not live your life. Like, you literally weren't able to take a simple walk anymore because it had affected you in that way.
No. One time I was walking home from Ola, and there were 2 dogs loose in the park, and I ran, blacked out, I got in a man's truck. A man's truck. And he was like, "Baby, are you okay?" And I was like, I don't even know how I got here.
Well, another example of how you don't know how you're going to react to something until it happens to you.
Yes.
Almost, it sounds like you're saying almost unconsciously that was your reaction. You hopped in the truck.
Right. Yeah. Right. So when that happened, that had been almost a year. And as soon as the dog attack happened, I told my husband, I was like, it's the summer of psychotherapy. Like, we're going to go deep. And I had the space and time for the first time in my life. I was on leave for work, and I had a psychotherapist, I had a coach, and I was in therapy every week. And it wasn't even just about the trauma of the dog attack. It was like, we're going deep, sister. We're going to childhood. We're going to subconscious belief. Like, we are going to do the work. And I had this beautiful time to just, who am I as a person?
Do you think before the dog attack, you had issues that you knew were unresolved related to childhood, all of that?
Yes.
What had you done with them before the dog attack? Had you denied them?
Yes.
Had you told yourself, I'm an adult now, I've dealt with it? Like, where was your mind with all of that?
I think I've always been in therapy, like court-ordered therapy as a child. My parents had a really fun divorce. My mom would watch this.
And there's trauma.
Yeah.
There's trauma, childhood trauma, yeah.
And so I'm really grateful to that judge who was like, hey, we need to get you in therapy and process these feelings. I don't think I ever really understood the value of like feeling feelings. And I would like push them down. And then after that literal dog attack, it's like I was feeling everything, and I was working, and these feelings would just come up, and I would just start crying, or I would be feeling giddy. I would go in the shower, just cry. And I was like, what is happening to me? And she was like, you are almost 40 and you have never felt your feelings in your whole life, because feelings growing up, we really didn't do that. And so everything I felt, I kind of didn't trust growing up almost. And so this whole year, now it's been about a year and a half, has been feeling my feelings. And I have a new coach, her name is Allegra, and we met yesterday, and we were talking about something. I go, I feel it. It feels like heartburn. I feel it right here. It feels like heartburn. And then she's like, you're the first person I've ever met. You don't actually describe the actual feeling. You describe how it feels in your body. And I go, oh, that's work, sister. She goes, that's where I'm trying to get people to. And the other day I was like, I feel fear, and I felt it in my toe. And then I felt unsettled yesterday, and I felt it in my gut. And it's like the feeling, it's a lot. But I've always been such an empath and a feeler, but I've never actually felt it in my body. And the dog attack.
You have felt it, but you didn't know what it was.
Right.
Or you've ignored it? Because it's always been there, right?
Yeah.
So you've just become more attuned to it. Okay, so there's a couple things at play here. We talked about, you found out you were a fighter, right? You knew you were a fighter because you fought the dog off and you survived. But then a year later, you're hopping in this truck. So you're trying to reconcile these two things, right? Like, I'm a fighter, but I'm still clearly impacted by this in a way. I'm vulnerable to this. So was that the reconciliation of trying, because the two things can exist at the same time, right? You can be a
Yes.
fighter and a survivor and still be dealing with the fallout from it.
And trauma, PTSD.
And trauma.
I was diagnosed with complex PTSD. So it's not just like if I see a dog in the shop, it's not an instant response for me. It's more about a very specific type of dog that's off leash. That it's not every time, it's complex. So thank you for bringing that back. You're so good at this.
Trying to follow my own.
I've been doing the work. I've been feeling the feelings. More so my whole life ever. And then that event happened about almost a year to the day. And I was like, I still have so much work to do.
Yeah.
And I've tried to remember to have grace with myself. But I did talk to my psychotherapist, and she was like, at this point, it's been a year. You've been doing the work. Maybe we could explore EMDR or ketamine. Mm-hmm. And I am kind of a grandma. Like, I don't smoke weed. I don't eat edibles. Like, I'm just kind of like grandma style. And I was very
You drink
scared.
some strong coffee.
I do drink some strong.
that
I love
you do
coffee.
do.
I
Yes.
love coffee.
And you know what? And we're going to talk about those therapies, those steps you take, and also
Yes.
talk about, for people who are watching and may not have access to, right, the kinds of what they can do, maybe through this podcast, still to be renamed with your help. And we'll talk about that.
Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers. Joy is My Middle Name is now streaming on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcasts. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
All right, so let's talk about, you've done the work, but you've had the ability to do the work. And I often think about how privileged we are to have access to healthcare and therapy, and I've gone through my own journey. What can we tell others who maybe don't have that access? Where's the resource? Where's the help? How can they do the work?
Oh, such a good question. That is something I think about quite frequently. A lot of my providers that I've worked with don't take insurance. And I work in tech, luckily, so I could have the means to do this and then the time to do this. One thing that my coach right now, she's like, a lot of this isn't brain science, like these crazy things to do. What she has me do is literally close my eyes and like kind of go into my body. And if something is feeling, you literally go to the feeling in your body and talk to it, which sounds hippy dippy, but I love doing it. And I'm a visual person, so I imagine the magic school bus. It could be anything. It could be a submarine or it could whatever. And I literally just close my eyes and go to it and sit still and feel it in my body and just kind of get curious as to what that feeling is, naming the feeling, and really just spending the time of understanding like feelings first. Like she calls it being a human being, not a human doer, because we try to just do things. And I am the queen of doing. I am the queen. So
well, doing is often, what do they say? Action is the antidote to anxiety. And so if you've got anxiety and you take action, I believe that's true, but it also could be a distraction.
yes. And she's not a therapist. She's just a coach. So, I mean, obviously there are some free resources out there, especially even in Oak Cliff in our community. But I would recommend sitting with yourself. And I'm not a big journaler, so I just kind of go in and just feel it. And then another thing that she has me do, because I don't love to journal, is talk to myself. So sometimes I'll go in the shower and I'll talk to myself of, hey, Allison, I'm feeling this way and I don't really know why, and I feel it in my stomach, and let's spend some time. And it's almost like I'm being my own therapist.
Your own therapist.
In a way.
You took
Yes.
the words out of my, I'm thinking
Yes.
you're your own therapist. Because no one knows you better than you really in a lot of ways.
Yes.
And haven't you found in therapy sometimes they don't give you a solution, you talk yourself around to your own solution.
Yes. Well, I'm actually not, for the first time probably in 20 years, I'm not actively seeing a therapist because I'm doing a lot of the work myself. And I've never really done that. And it's hard.
And there are other resources now, thankfully. BetterHelp is one of them, I know.
Yeah.
Making it sound like they're sponsoring this thing. They're not,
Maybe they will.
but maybe they will. But no, I think those sorts of things, I hope provide more access to more people to deal with some of the traumas that they're dealing with, some of which are very explicit, like your attack, but in that you uncovered other stuff that was unresolved. And so I'm wondering, we don't want everybody to have a dog bite moment, to have this
Actual dog bite, yeah.
an actual dog bite, right, or some other actual physical or otherwise emotional trauma, both actually, to have to deal with the stuff that's been undealt with, right? I mean, wouldn't it be great if everybody now could say before that moment, I'm going to deal with how my past and how my childhood trauma is impacting my life?
Yes.
Right?
One other tip, I'm deep into all this, and my algorithm
No,
on
we're
Instagram,
all about the tips, yeah.
Yeah, is very much about finding joy in your life. And it's, of course, we're literally at little joy right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
When you go to bed, before you go to bed, you tell your brain the best thing out loud that happened to you that day. And it starts to rewire your pathways. So it's almost like a daily practice of like, what was joyful to you today? And telling yourself that.
Well, it's like that gratitude journal, but you're
Yes.
just telling yourself.
Yes.
You're telling yourself.
Find what works for you.
Yeah, find out what works for you. I'm also curious to know, you posted on your Instagram last week that you had 2 remaining episodes of the first season of your podcast, When the Dog Bites, and you weren't putting it out there, and something was telling you, I don't want to put words in your mouth, you tell me what you told people.
Yeah, so I love that you said the antidote to anxiety is action, because I'm a big Action Jackson kind of gal, but I've realized to sit in the moments of stillness and slow down. And if I don't do something, I've learned like immediately, like there's something inside of me telling me no.
And is that something that was born out of your attack?
100%.
You are more...
Yes. I think it
you're
had
more,
always
You're
been
more
there.
able to listen to yourself.
Yes. I think it had always been, like gut feelings, things, and I would not listen and just keep blowing right past it. Things that I knew did not feel, and I was like, no, here we go. This version of me now is like, oh, she's gonna listen, sister. Like, we're just gonna keep yelling until you listen. And so these are amazing, beautiful episodes of incredible stories, and I'm excited for people to hear them. But I didn't want to post them, and I was like, what is going on with me? And I was like, oh, I don't want to talk. I don't know. And when we would talk about it, I would get excited, but then I wouldn't take action, and it wasn't like me at all. So I started listening to Good Hangs with Amy Poehler. Good Hang.
Yeah.
I love it. It is so funny. It is so light. And she talks about how things are so heavy right now in the world. Things are sometimes feel like they are falling apart. And she asks each guest, what is something that makes you laugh today? Like, what is making you laugh? And it was kind of like this light bulb went off, and she gave me permission of like, you can focus on the joy. It's okay. And I was like, oh.
But you knew that. You'd already named the coffee house Little Joy.
I know.
That was, how long ago was that?
May.
Yes, that was May.
May. It's like these two sides of me were kind of going like this, because a lot of those episodes I recorded from January to May. We got Little Joy, we renamed it Little Joy, and then I just stopped anything with podcast until now, which is October, almost November.
You need the podcast to be a better reflection of who you are right now.
Yes.
Which is not to ignore how you got here.
Exactly.
Which was the dog bite, right? When the dog bites. And so my thinking is that this podcast needs to embody that in the title, in the content, but then everybody who sits down with you needs to share with you their moment when the dog bit.
Yep.
Right?
And we can still honor that.
Honor that, because
Yes.
it is transformative. For me, it was when I was 14 and my mother had a massive brain injury.
Oh my gosh.
And so I lived with, my mom being changed and disabled her entire life. Thankfully, she recovered, but I don't want to diminish the impact it had, because she was not the same person in some ways. Fundamentally, she couldn't drive again. She had to learn to read and write and walk again, and her walking was diminished, and she was, disabled.
So
But
sorry.
at 14, that's a moment, formative moment. And to your point, childhood trauma, at 26, I'm wondering why I'm walking around with this impending sense of doom.
Yes.
like the world was going to end at any moment. And I'm living on a houseboat in Seattle and anchoring the weekend news and having a great life, but none of it felt that way, right?
Wow.
So I'm wondering, your children, when this happened to you, were what, 3 and almost 5? They're 4 and 6 now, so they were 2-ish, almost 3, and 4-ish, almost 5, maybe. They had to know that mom was hurting.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Well, I couldn't use my hands all summer. Like they weren't
right.
functional.
And there's nothing harder for a child.
To see their mom like that. I am so sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, there's nothing worse. Yeah.
Well, I want to talk about my kids, but I want to go back to you for a second. How, when you were 26 and you had this life and you felt those feelings, like what did you start doing for yourself?
Well, I lived with it for a long time, and I didn't tell anybody about it. I had to be to work at 2 p.m, so whatever I could do to, at the time my partner would be up and out the door at 7, worked in Bellevue across the lake, and so I'd have the whole day to sort of get myself sorted out and focused. And going to work was the only way I could sort of find a distraction.
Wow.
But I sought therapy.
Yeah.
And at the time it was more affordable, more accessible, 20 some years ago. But I ended up with a clinician in Seattle who was ahead of her time in terms of using EMDR, which you mentioned.
Yes.
For post-traumatic stress for people other than, at that point, it had been used primarily for war veterans.
Yes.
And she was among the few clinicians who were using it on patients for other traumas.
Wow.
And it was incredibly helpful. It was sort of life-changing, along with some medication, which I don't take anymore and haven't for many years. But I get it. You get it. And sometimes the things you think you've dealt with come back in ways that you think, this happened, we've gotten through it, she's not the same, but I've coped with it, and we manage, but it was more than that. Yeah.
Yes. So about the EMDR and about the different ways to help your brain, I was reading this thing and it said Americans will take medicine for anything except for their brain. Mm-hmm. And sometimes our brains get sick and we need to help it. And there's such a weird stigma around it.
There is.
So I'll talk about my kids in a minute, but I do want to talk about this because when she first recommended EMDR or ketamine to me, my first reaction was no. I got this. And she was like, why are you being so hesitant? I want you to get curious on why you're pushing against it.
Were you thinking, oh, I'm not so damaged that I need that. That's extreme, right? Is that what you were thinking?
I think so, because even in 2025, all I had heard were veterans who needed it. And they'd gone to war. And in my head,
with
I'm
ketamine.
Like,
Right. Well, we've seen the same evolution of treatments with EMDR.
Exactly. But in my head, I was like, well, I haven't been to war. I'm not a veteran. I don't need that. And they were saying the brain, it literally feels the same. It reacts the same way as like a traumatic event or something. It doesn't know that it's war versus a dog bite versus a mom getting, it doesn't know. It doesn't have any context. It just, it's firing.
Yes.
And you have to help it.
Yes.
And so when she kind of walked me through this program, so I can talk about that if you want, I think that's another reason why I'm so different now and feel so different is because in June, I did ketamine for the first time. And after that, I was like, I am not the same person. It was life-changing. I'd never done anything like it. It was through NeuroGlow, and they have clinics all over Texas.
Which we need to say, at a clinic, under the care of a doctor, controlled environment, all of that.
And you work with a lot of sessions with the psychotherapist actually first.
Yeah.
And he goes, have you ever worked with a psychotherapist? And I'm like, oh, I just had my summer of psychotherapy.
Like, I could be a psychotherapist at this point.
Well, let's go deep. What do you want to talk about? He was like, oh, wow. And so, and you work with him a couple times, and then you have to do all this work to make sure you can go. And it's very supervised. Russ took me, and it's in a little room with a nurse, and she's tracking your heart, and they give you the medicine. And I was under for about 45 minutes. And here's a crazy thing too. And I've talked about it a little bit, but I think I'm ready to finally start how life-changing it was for me. In my dog attack, I was saving my animals from the other dog. Like I was the savior. In this ketamine trip, animals were guiding me. I had a bear, an otter, I had a bunny, I had dogs, I had cats, and they were just kind of guiding me through the universe. I know this sounds crazy, but that's what my trip was.
So what was the takeaway?
The takeaway was,
How did you interpret that?
I woke up, after, and I'm just like, and you take a big nap after because you're very tired because your brain is literally, and I told Russ, I was
like Alice in Wonderland. You're
yes.
Like, yeah, really.
Yeah. And sometimes you can set an intention. I didn't really. I just was like, I'm just going to be curious with what my brain wants me to see. I didn't want to say like, I want to be better from the dog attack. Like I just, whatever my brain thinks I need today, let's go there. And it was all animals protecting me. And so I was not prepared for. So what I think for me was, it's okay. Like, you're going to be okay. Animals don't want to hurt you. Like, it's okay. It was just a very peaceful moment. But over time, your brain does start to create new pathways. And even when I think back on the dog attack right this second, it's not that scary. It was very scary in the moment, but like, I'm not having that visceral reaction, a little bit, but I used to get so sweaty and I would like start sweating and getting my heart, and I have an Oura ring and it's not even going to go to stress levels now talking about it.
That is a breakthrough.
Yes.
That's a breakthrough.
I also got the Oura ring to track my, it's just very.
Mindfulness
Yes.
is a huge part of it. What you're saying to me is mindfulness, listening to yourself, feeling your feelings, thinking about it. Do you talk about it more, like with your husband? Do you find yourself having more open conversations about other things because of this?
And yes, on all things with the kids. So going back to the kids, we talk a lot about feelings now. And that was something we never talked about ever. It was like, they were sad, like, okay, I'm sad. But now I'll almost like do what I'm doing with my coach with them. And the other night, Davy was very upset. And I was like, okay, where do you feel it? And she goes, my toe. And so Noah like kissed her toe, like a little kid, but just try to like get them used to being okay with feelings at a very young age.
Have they verbalized to you how they felt about when you were hurt?
They were younger. Noah was having nightmares about a dog with purple eyes killing us. So we actually got a therapist for him to talk through some of these things. Miss Lauren at Lifeology, shout out, she's amazing. But he doesn't have those nightmares anymore. She just said it was really hard for him to see me, his hero, hurt. But I think they've also seen how resilient I am. And now I'm like, mommy is strong. And I'm like, look how strong I am. Like, we talk about that stuff. So I think it's been kind of this healing journey for all of us. And to bring it back to the coffee shop, they're involved with us here. And they get to see what we're building together. And we're usually always together. It's like a little foursome. We're just always, but they're like, look what mommy and daddy are building with your help. Like, look at this joy that we're bringing. Look how strong mommy is, like moving stuff and building stuff. And so,
don't you think even calling it Little Joy makes them more mindful and intentional about everything? Because if it was just, Oak Cliff Coffee, it wouldn't mean nearly as much.
Yeah. And we were very intentional about the name.
Yeah.
And I think subconsciously I was craving joy. I was craving it. And my middle name is Joy. And Davy's middle name is Joy. And we were named after my Nana, Joy. And so it's like runs in me. And it was like it needed a place to go. Like,
so this coffee house is a manifestation of your post-traumatic situation.
Yeah. It's like our journey.
Yeah. This coffee house wouldn't exist if the dog hadn't bitten you.
It would not. There is no way. I think I just would have kept on doing, working tech and just keep doing it and live our life that way. And it shook us all awake. To learn more about today's guest, Ron Corning, follow him on Instagram at Ron Corning.
So that brings us to this point where this is going to be the location where you tell your story and interview other people about how they're finding joy, right? How they're pursuing their passions. And in every case, someone's going to have that moment, I think, where maybe they had a wake-up call.
Yes.
And if they didn't, you can better prepare them for it. Because it's inevitable, isn't it, that all of us will have a moment of some sort?
Yes.
Maybe not as traumatic, if you can even measure trauma, but definitely life-changing moments that maybe you question your purpose
Yes.
or what life is all about.
That is such a good way to kind of wrap this conversation that we're having. I've realized I've gotten very curious about who people are and why they're like that. And for a while, it was so focused on the bad thing. And like, tell me the bad thing, tell me the bad. And then it would be like a little bit of the good. And it's like, we're whole human beings. Like, I want to know everything. Like, the fact that you share that with your mom, thank you for sharing that with me. I want to know more about your life too, like how it shaped you as who you are. But I want to know people who take risks and people who start businesses and people who, I'm going to talk to a woman who's had multiple miscarriages who wants to try again to have a baby. Like, I want to focus more of like the whole story and like what brings them joy at the center versus the bad thing at the center.
Yeah, I get it. And that's why I'm glad that you have asked me to help you do it.
I'm so honored. This is just the best. I'm so excited. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I love it. And now we got to figure out this name.
Let's do it.
Joy is My Middle Name is now streaming on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcasts. Don't forget to like and subscribe.